And we're live. Welcome to the 4th edition of Open Source Block Explorers Now. We have a really special edition thanks to Ryerson Blockchain and the Untraceable. They are giving us this awesome venue to have our first actual live session with the people in person. We always do this online, so it's really cool that we can try to do this with at least some of us. So we also have an audience, so hopefully we can end this with a Q&A session. But for people doing our every 2-week call to kind of keep updated on what's going on in the open source block explorer movement. And if you guys are excited to contact me, if you have any kind of projects that are in this space, so I can connect you to all the people that are also working for. But maybe we can start with just some quick introductions. I'm Griff. I work with Giveth, and I just moderate these calls.
Hi, I don't know what show today.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Eric. I work on Infura, Backend and infrastructure. I work with Vuejs, on around here too. Yeah, Hey guys, I'm Igor from QA Network. We started open source QA for a couple of months ago. My name is Jay Rush. I work on a project called QuickBlocks. My goal is to make the data as decentralized as it possibly can be. So my project is about getting the data in a decentralized, fully decentralized.
And this is
It's fine. I think you maybe
It's difficult. Yeah.
It's okay. We'll just listen. No, I can't hear.
No, it's very difficult. But I think Kosala, you can introduce yourself. And
Yeah.
later.
So,
yeah.
I'm Kosala from MyEtherWallet team, and we are working on an open source blockchain explorer as well. It's called EthVM, and currently I can post the link. I'm pretty sure Griff has the link to the GitHub repo as well. We did a lot of work, so currently we are on finalizing the account page where you can see. I don't know whether they hear me or not.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we are at the stage we were finalizing our account page where you can display all the tokens and token balances and like the incoming transactions, outgoing transactions, internal transactions, and so on. So we are mostly done with that page, and right now working on adding a caching layer so that all the token balances can be cached and we don't have to hit a node or like go through checking contract or go through and like call every single smart contract to get the balances. So we are working on the caching layer as of now, and it should be done by like within the next 2 to 3 days.
We were just looking for an intro poster.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I didn't hear anything.
I'm figuring it out. We're figuring out the crazy.
Okay.
Okay, I'll help. It's your intro.
Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, Kosala from MyEtherWallet.
Okay, I'm Aldo from Ubik. I'm doing the Shokku Infura clone, and that's it. I mean, after the long introduction of Kosala, I'm going to be.
Yeah. The Shokku, the clone.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so Kai, can you unmute?
Okay, so the first agenda item is a quick update from Web3scan. They couldn't be here today, but they did leave a nice note that I promised I'd read. So last week, Emiel from Web3scan joined our little community, and he had this to say. After watching the first 3 episodes of our initiative, he believes that Web3 Web3 scan complements the group by focusing on the database layer, specifically by building large databases that harvest and index all of the data of the various networks. This should result in an SQL queryable database, aimed to assist developers, academics, and operators of the consortium of term. They do not plan to develop a user interface, like a public web interface or any kind of API, or even a method of decentralized building the database. Just, in their opinion, it distracts from the now component. In the short term, what they really want to do is create an immediate service that will distribute harvested and indexed information from these blockchains greater than a terabyte level. So this will be a giant database that will harvest all the data and index it for and then they'll just provide it. They are aware that this requires some trust in their service, but the data can be verified, of course, by making simple tests of other sources. The idea with access to this large data, you can find the answers to questions that the clients or block explorers do not provide. And specifically, as far as work they did last week,
let's see if this works. Now I think at least Costa and Aldo can hear me. So last week they synced about 10 different networks with Parity nodes in archive-based mode. And they, amongst others, they've synced POA network, the Kovan testnet, Option testnet, Mix, Bitcoin, Expand, Toma, Classic, and some others. Their next move is to make preparations to harvest and index these networks in their relational database model. How's the sound on your guys' side, Kosala? Hello, no?
The sound is, well, it's improved, but we hear your voice. Yeah, twice.
We heard it
twice. If you mute one of them, if you mute Griff's laptop.
Okay, okay.
Oh, cool. Much better. Awesome now.
No, yeah, much better.
No. Mute. You mute both of them.
Trying to play this game, it's going to be fun. Okay, so now actually next on the, so that's Web3 scan and emulates at the end of the month, basically. And have a video that I linked in the description below. So next we have a couple updates from Aldo. So now we get to play the sound game. Let's see how it works.
Yeah, I think.
Mute.
Yeah, I'm going to update.
Go for it, Aldo.
Okay, about Shokku. This week, this past 2 weeks, I was rewriting the whole code base in order to use the Nest.js framework, which is an awesome framework for Node.js. And I changed also the API to support more networks. I mean, it's more open than before. Previously, it was only focused on Ubiq, but right now it can support Ethereum, POA, Ethereum Classic, or whatever network we want to throw it in. So if any of you is interested in supporting another network, just ping me, and I will add the support, or we can work it out. And yeah, for the other part, I'm researching.
Hey Aldo, what's the best way to ping you?
Twitter or the Discord channel or Telegram. I mean, in public, Twitter. My handle is Aldo. That's it. I mean, I can write it after.
Perfect.
And yeah, I would like to present a demo in the next conference call in 2 weeks. I think I will have it more or less finalized. So I would like to showcase a demo. And that's it.
Nice. Okay. So I guess it's now an update from POA Network.
Awesome. Yeah, just so
okay, so from our side, we almost finished the pixel. So blockchain explorer. Louder. As loud as you can, man. Okay, just move. Yeah. I can. Oh, also we can move this here. No. Yeah, that's great. So, yeah, and we published the deployment tool for Vuejs Explorer. So it's based on Terraform, and it will allow builders, you can build Explorer, but also the big issue of how to deploy it and how to make it deployable to different networks. So we built this tool, Terraform, and try to have as less as possible external dependencies on cloud services, but we're still dependent on AWS. And so we would like to have a demo of our for next fall. And Enter is not here, he's in Brazil, I'm working on more with it. Now we have a 50 engineers working on this, which is the biggest team doing it more than TF last team. It's quite a big project for us.
Wow, that's incredible, man. 15 engineers, right? How are you dividing them up? You know,
you can see it on our GitHub issues. By we have 3 teams working on the different issues. One is part how to be from watching. The second for Frontend part, and we think that we have 2 types of users, developers and investors. Investors interested in one set of features, and the developers a different set. Now we're on board a third team, and this third team is working on started to work on smart contract verifications. We think that we need to have smart contract verification not only for Solidity, but also for Viper, LLM, WebSockets, all other languages. From my perspective, it's something that's stopping these languages from usage. So this one part, the second part is security audits for this type of languages, right? Which is also missing. But you know, if you are working as a consultant for someone and the client doesn't build a legitimate document, you build it Viper, it's harder to sell than Solidity. Right? So that's but it's important to have this feature. Technically, it's not hard, right? Compile one thing or another thing. It's all versions of this compiler. Technically, it's not hard. It shows that in the current situation, we don't have a way of all these features and this part is we decided to graph this work as separate teams. So also it's a concept for separate teams to work with separate features. Supporting more people will come and start. Let's say if our explorer will be more interesting for the community, so more people can come and collaborate. Well, once again, I would like to say that we are sidechains, and we're not first-class citizens on this on this event. But on the other side, because we're sidechains, we're trying to work more open to other sidechains, because only like first-class citizens as a group. Yeah, it's interesting because today I saw a tweet from Griff Classic, and they said that they are sidechain. So it's, yeah, they also not work with sidechain. Yeah. So it's interesting. Sidechains before we cannot make it without those exporters. If you were and also if you're further to sidechains. But yeah, you know, I'm trying to get listed for 4 months. but now I think it's more close. It's interesting that the consensus now is more open to sections. It's more forward.
Cool. Thanks, Igor. So next we have Kosala. Let's see if we can get the sound right.
Did you say my name?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. Awesome. I gave the overview of my project during my introduction. So, yeah, again, we're working on open source blockchain explorer called EthVM, and this is not just for Ethereum, but we are planning to add other networks as well. And it's currently at the level where you can see all your incoming transactions, outgoing transactions, token balances, your balance, equivalent values, and so on. And it can also do transaction. It can show transactions and also process pending transactions with the current state. And this is, I think, this is really important. Because now you don't have to wait until the transaction completely transaction is included in a block to know whether that transaction will fail or become successful. And that's why we wanted to have it since the beginning, and we implemented it. So whenever our node gets a pending transaction, or whenever a transaction gets included in our transaction pool, it'll automatically process it against the current state of the network. And then obviously if the transaction cannot be processed in the current state, it'll simply fail. And if the transaction can be processed, then it'll be successful, and it'll display all the you guys heard the barking, right? Okay.
Of course. Does Penny have a friend, or is it just?
Yeah, Penny does have a friend. I'm at the office. Yeah. So okay, good. Now that it's so it'll process the transactions and let you know like the gas used and whether the transaction went through or not, and all the events that happened during that transaction, and so on. And all these are done. So like I said before, we are at the level of displaying the internal transactions. Even the internal transactions are actually getting saved in the database. Excuse me, except it's not getting displayed on the UI yet. Yeah, like Aldo mentioned before, we should be able to showcase the status on our next call as well. And yeah, so that's like pretty much the brief overview of the project and the current status of the project as of now.
Nice, thanks, Kosala. So that's cool. So I guess now I can open up to questions. I don't know if anyone here in the audience has any questions, but if not, I do have any questions. Okay.
And I never yeah, why are you here and not someone? That's interesting.
Yeah, does anyone have a thing? What attracted you guys to start
I had my answer to that.
Yeah.
Like the blockchain or something that everybody doesn't seem like there's a lot of interest in like the community is asking about like having that tool as compared to other things they love pipelines. I'm wondering what your thoughts are.
Let me just say really quick, that is so true, and it confuses the hell out of me, because right now there's one company that is invested by BCG of all things, right? And that company, EtherScan, which is a great company, and I love those guys. They're amazing. They do such an amazing job that there's no competitor close. But those guys are, they have complete control of the blockchain, or at least people's perception of it on. And they also implement other side chains that were not even existing. They have incredible power, and in this ecosystem, I thought our job was to decentralize power. So I am surprised that there is less interest in this, for sure. But that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this every 2 weeks, to try to bring a little bit of awareness to this topic. Actually was next to the topic on the escalator, so he's fully available. And POA network is getting a lot of support from FPrice. So at least the real people that see the bigger picture, or I guess people who have a lot of ether, they see this as a problem, right? So they're actually starting to help support it.
Yeah, I think part of the problem too may be that people were more interested in getting the data on and how a smart contract works and developing that whole part of the system. And now they're finally coming to the point where they get the data back off. And it's way more complicated than people imagine, because the mantra from the beginning is we all have shared data and we can all see it. And everybody hears that, they understand it, and they go work on a smart contract. Hi, Grandma.
Yeah. Our deaf grandma.
And I think now people are starting to realize they need to get this data back off, and they're finding it much more difficult than it may appear to be.
Yeah, so I think people have been focused on writing scalability. If you think of the blockchain as a database, a lot of people have been focused on the scalability with like writing to it and not reading from it. And now that there's more dApps and more users, you know, most of the times like dApps are going to be like reading things, right? Like what's the balance of my token, what block are we at? And yeah, so like just like inspecting like all the client code, it kind of looks like the database layer has been like neglected for a while. I mean, it doesn't really make much sense to throw everything into a key value store, right? Like, I mean, for the state tree, maybe that is probably like a pretty good way to store it. But for things like like the balance of an account or something like that, or just like any log data, it's kind of weird how you have to traverse the whole chain to like search for like very basic things. And so yeah, that's been neglected for a while. I guess now people are starting to pay attention to it because they're dApps somewhere.
I mean, I'm almost afraid to say this on the internet, but if someone wanted to hack EtherScan right now, they could send hundreds of millions of dollars anywhere they want. If I wanted to say, hey guy, I'll buy your house, you know, I send you a bunch of money, check it out. Where are they gonna go? They're gonna go to EtherScan and they're gonna look.
From the chain perspective, it's very hard to attract developers if you don't have the same tooling as you have for MyEtherWallet. But even if you're faster, more efficient, better governance, and something like this, but it's still very hard to attract developers if you don't have the same tools. Tools means blockchain is for MetaMask, some other parts of ecosystem which are how to develop blockchains. So that's important to build. Also, it's hard to build your own ecosystem, right? So for sidechains is a balance between being independent and being dependent on some ecosystem. So we like Ethereum ecosystem, people here, the overall progress. So that's why we decided to support this ecosystem, not support that you can select. And a part of this distribution you have to or something. So that's why when we build our tools, the POA should support POA because we build it on funds of investors and POA from one side, right? But it also should support ecosystem, which is great. So third thing which I want to add is censorship. The censorship exists in our ecosystem and some preferences. So how many of us know about Tobalaba? Do you know Tobalaba network? Tobalaba, anyone? Is it Tobalaba? No, Tobalaba. You don't know Tobalaba? Okay. So that's weird because if you go to tobalaba.etherscan.com, you'll see etherscan for Tobalaba. But there is no etherscan for POA, and we apply, no, and so forth. Why? It's preferences and censorship, right? So you can list your Tobalaba. It's a part of it. It's decentralized, guy and so forth, right? But you cannot get so this is the part we cannot get access to those. It's because, but on the other side, it's open market. You should be able to purchase it. Someone sell it to someone. So that's why we put this in our preferences. Okay, we need to build the same exact feature set as the channels as much as possible, resources. We'll make it credible with any.
If I can just ask you, why would you not then turn into etherscan?
Why? Well, so why?
Well, because it seems to me that if you're going to build a larger than 1 terabyte indexed version of the blockchain, there's going to be pressure to, that's an expenditure that you're going to have to make. Yes. And there's going to be pressure there.
Yeah. Okay, so about
so who's storing the data?
So good thing when you operate stage, protocol. So in your network, there's a additional foundation by network, 0.5% of each of this network distributed to R&D foundation, but it's not distributed directly from protocol to foundation. It's going through special governance mechanisms. It's distributed to a special multi-sig wallet locked for 3 months. And after validators can decide what to do with those funds. They can burn these funds if we don't do that. They can hold for 3 more months, or they can distribute it to one foundation. Yeah, it's protection for validators from malicious R&D company, right? They need to work well, so we need to do R&D, so it's also protection for them from manipulation, with our manipulation. So because this put this card for production. They don't have funds to make audit. So it protects our decentralization of this network, but also it supports maintenance expenses. And if you embed additional protocol can be responsible. This is one part. And the part is much more expensive than maintenance part. Especially in our crazy cryptocurrency world where everyone's
I'm sure you understand making good money on the ad.
Oh yeah, we don't need ads on our blockchain because ads is a way to sell your data to, well, government. Okay, you search something of your data store somewhere, right? Well, it's and you cannot select it. You cannot select alternative RPC query. So some people think that if you're a way sell our data. Some people. So you can run your node and you can have your RPC. No one will sell your data on this level. Some people think that you should have some choice. The RPC we post blockchains for Vuejs, for EthVM, and you can use it. If you don't trust us, you take we're gonna build it, run index. You spend more time and money on this initial period. And also what is important, they call this blockchain explorers, they hold some data which not exist on blockchain, right? So this data should be exportable from the explorer and exportable to another explorer. And we'll do it on Chrome. We'll export from our system every day. You can get it from S3.
I think my fear is that the pressure to take advantage of that position and create and distribute that data is going to tend to centralize. There's going to be pressure.
I would love to hear Koso's opinion on this because he's in the same situation, and he's gonna go in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, so that's why we have this group of people, and I think we'll figure out a common governance for whatever explorer.
What do you think, Kosola?
What do you?
Sorry guys, I didn't hear anything.
I can hear you.
It's really hard to hear for some
Yeah,
reason.
it's very hard. I mean, we are trying to to focus, but yeah,
Yeah.
the problem itself is like the
Okay.
sound is very far.
Maybe I can repeat the question.
Yeah.
Kosala, like, what stops you guys from the same situation that we have with EtherScan, where they kind of control all this data and have all this power? And I mean, it's good to give them competition, but do you have another strategy to kind of stay decentralized and stay open and controlled?
Yeah, so it pretty much comes down to you as a person or like someone having the ability to sync the chain from the beginning. Let's say at some point in time, um, let's say EthVM goes down or something happens, or you lose the trust on EthVM. But now you still have the ability to, since the code is open source, since the syncing is open source, the client, the Go Ethereum we are writing is open source. Now you still have the ability to set up your own environment. Like for example, a Docker container, we will release a Docker container for you so that you can, as soon as you start that and have it run, it'll sync from the beginning. Like for example, you can set up your Genesis file if it's a private chain, or if it's an Ethereum mainnet or a testnet, you can just pass the command line information and then it'll sync from the beginning, and at the end of the day you'll have your own blockchain explorer. I think as a community that's where we should be headed, rather than depending on a centralized party. um, for example, the etherscan.io. Um, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That sounds good. So we're at the hour mark. I think at least here in this panel, I want to keep going because we just got Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, on our side, our main goal is to have, of course, it'll be a centralized database, because unfortunately there's no way to have a decentralized database and have the exact responsiveness. You know, like all the IPFS stuff and the Swarm stuff, everything is there, but it takes the response time is still
Very high. Yeah.
very high. So there's no way for us to use that and then build a practical environment where anyone can go and then use the Ethereum Explorer, because everyone wants pretty much, still people like instant gratification. I think it'll be the same for the next, foreseeable future. So we have to depend on a centralized database. But our goal is at the end of the day to have snapshots that anyone can download and then verify it against against the current blockchain. So have a way, we don't know how to do this yet, but have a way of downloading a snapshot and then verifying the hash of that snapshot against the like having a Merkle proof or some sort of proof that makes sure this snapshot is valid for this specific chain. So people can download, instead of waiting and then syncing the whole chain, people can download the previous day snapshot or the last hour snapshot and then go from there and then have their own blockchain explorer.
Sorry, I was. Yeah. So well, that sounds really cool, man. I think I'm gonna. I mean, unless Aldo has something to add, I was thinking about maybe cutting you guys out and finishing this.
Oh no! No, that'll be. I really want to be part of this, but unfortunately, I can barely hear what you guys are talking about and all those. Like I want to be part of it, but I can only hear the keywords, or like not even keywords, certain words. So it's really hard to participate.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
happens the same to me. I mean, right now we can hear you very well, but when you start with the other microphone, things are worse.
Yeah. So I will let you guys go, or you guys can let me go.
Aldo, do you want to stay, or are you good to go too?
I can try to stay, but I cannot promise anything. I mean, if I disappear, that's because the audio is not working at all.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, let's then, did you have anything more to add on that, Igor, before I introduce things?
Let's put your computer here.
Well, now we have this other.
You're just talking very quiet. This is a perfect mic. You can pick up myself. You hear that, guys, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes. The mic is okay, but you don't talk very.
I can use hold the mic. I can see the mic. I interrupted you before. It looked like you had something else.
I have a few snapshots. It's very important to have snapshots.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I gotta go. Have a nice bye.
Bye, Kosala.
Do you have a sample for it? Anyone? Do you have a sample for verified smart contracts? Anyone? My friend. Igor? No, I don't. Yeah, because I think it violates the term of service, so you cannot. It's their intellectual property. And also, those verified smart contracts are not your contracts, that's your code. It's a property of the standard. The same problem with some other tools, which is not open source yet. Yeah, so that's important for open source blockchain explorers to have this exploitable data from their state. That's important. We have a
Actually, a very loud speaker.
Yeah, I don't think you need to hold the mic for me.
Yeah.
I usually have the opposite problem.
Yeah. So.
I don't know what you guys did, but it shouldn't be on.
It's volume and everything.
I turned it off.
No, it wasn't that. So just.
Okay. Now we have
no, it's better. No, here just learning.
No, that's not plugged in. I mean, the only power is through these extension cords.
Whoa, your voice is different right now, Griff. Kosala disappeared. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, take that whole power thing.
We'll do the best we can.
We can change the setup. Just come around this table or whatever. Come near.
Oh yeah. Let's have our own table. The square table, the open source blockchain, the block explorer square table. Oh, nice. Yeah, this is kind of nice.
I feel like I'm knowing you guys better.
Yeah, right? It's okay. You guys want to take that?
I think you have both mics going right now.
No, his is dead anyway.
I see the bird. I think you have audio.
Oh, hey, Kai, can you mute? And this one is really bad on the technical.
Well, right now, Griff, with the microphone, it's working better.
What? What are you saying, Aldo?
With this microphone, the one you are using right now is way better. I mean, the other, it's almost impossible to follow back the conversation. But otherwise, I mean, if you want to continue discussing, because maybe I'm losing the context and it's difficult.
No worries. Yeah, I think we're gonna kind of start over, and maybe one day I'll edit this. Probably not though. So sorry to the world.
No, don't worry.
Oh God. Well, no, I actually really want to introduce Lane, because Lane is just came in and he has a really cool project. So I thought it'd be interesting to hear what he has to say.
Awesome. Thanks, Griff. Hey guys, yeah, sorry again to be running really late. My name is Lane. Can I tell you why I'm here?
Yeah.
I'm here for a few reasons. One of them is that I was on my iPad at home like a week or two ago, like reading some random article or something, and then I got a notification from my YouTube app that you were live streaming. The Giveth was live streaming, and I flipped over. I guess I subscribed, and I was like, oh my God, they're talking about open source block explorers. This is super cool. And of course I heard about it because of the Prize project. Yeah, so sorry, for anyone I haven't met yet, I'm Lane. I'm on the EWASM team, so I'm doing kind of core development work. But I've gotten really interested recently in data, data availability, and kind of just you know, from the perspective of app developers, making yeah, all types of data in Ethereum, which should be easy to get. Things like token balances is a great example, kind of making that stuff more accessible on the one hand, right? That's kind of the app developer side. I think from the perspective of people running full nodes, you know, there's an interesting dialogue going on right now about how to incentivize people economically to do that, because as it's getting more expensive to do that, the number of full nodes has plateaued, and I think we're a little concerned that it might drop. So I think that there's an opportunity to connect the two sides there. With all due respect, it seems like Infura and etherscan, who have built like really amazing centralized platforms, I think there's interesting conversation going on around how to, you know, make those things a little trustless and kind of decentralize them. So I'll shut up. I'm actually mostly here to learn from you guys. I'd love to. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had a. Didn't you have a?
I do. I mean,
project?
I can talk about that
give us
too.
an introduction.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so project is a strong word. It's an idea, and it's kind of coming together. It's called ODI, working name, the Open Data Initiative. Someone suggested adding an N and making it Odin or Odin Protocol, which could work. But basically, yeah, the idea is to, okay, so I'll just share my vision. So the vision for this is anyone who's running an Ethereum full node already can run a small additional piece of software on top of that, so an open source piece of software. And I think that there's definitely overlap with what TJ's team is building in QuickBlocks. And the only thing you need to tell it as a node operator is kind of how many system resources it should use. So if you're happy to give it 10 gigabytes or 100 gigabytes or 50% of your CPU or whatever that is. And it begins this fun indexing process where it begins pulling some data out of the full node, out of the state, sort of via RPC events and things like token balances and things like that, and basically sort of just makes those things available to the network. And there's an incentive scheme built into this, right? So you begin collecting tokens, collecting rewards for sort of making this service available. It's mining. It's a form of proof of work mining. It's called data mining. I think it's kind of very elegant there. And from the perspective, again, the other side, kind of the app developer, you know, if you need data, if you need things like token balances, you can sort of turn to this network, which is decentralized and trust to get that data very cheaply. And I think there's a lot of interesting questions here around proving that the data is complete and hasn't been tampered with, and how to get the incentivization right, but just wrapping a protocol around that. And hopefully working with some of you guys to, you know, yeah.
I have two questions.
Yeah,
I like the, you can choose how much resources you devote. That
Totally.
I like, because I'm maybe just a small guy, just
Totally.
run a very small portion of that. I think that's a good idea.
And TJ, that was actually directly inspired by what you're doing, because to your point, right? Like if you don't have that, then by definition things get decentralized. That's why I said my vision is anyone who can run a full node today on a laptop should be able to do this. Not to say that there won't be more powerful machines.
So yeah, I come from like a minimal imposition on the machine that's running, and just allow the user to generate the data they want, they're interested in, and then by community effort, it all becomes available. Perhaps I'm thinking about ideas about how that might happen. How you can each individual using only their own resources to create their own data, but the whole community benefits from that effort by sharing the data.
That's exactly right.
And then I did have another question about the node itself. Yeah, has a number of things that are, I would call designed well when we first designed it, but maybe not so well designed now. And I don't think that's plate. But there's a lot of things in the node that the node could do a lot better. Here's a very simple example. When I ask for a transaction, I get a transaction, but I don't get the receipt for the transaction. So then I have to go back and ask for the receipt. So every time I want a fully resolved transaction, I have to ask for both. That's twice as many calls to the RPC as I need to. And when I'm hitting Infura, I'm hitting you twice as often as I have to. And it's taking way, way longer than it should because I have to go across the network to get the data. So there's a lot of I think there's a number of simple things that you could possibly do to the node to improve it.
Yeah, I think, and we should talk about them. I think generally speaking, my vision is pretty simple. It's just that it shouldn't be so hard to get data out of Ethereum, period, right?
Share a global ledger that everybody has access to.
Yeah, and the data is all there, but it's just not readable. And I think what you're raising is a great example of that. And again, I'm an app developer, right? Like I've built mobile apps, I've built many Web 2 kind of apps. And I love tools like Parse and like Heroku and sort of intelligent, databases that it's just GraphQL is a great example. And we talked about that one today, right? Where I can just structure my queries in a certain way and pull out the data I need. Like, and kudos to the Graph team because they're building that, right? Like GraphQL would be a beautiful layer to have there. Yeah, I think one was in that.
I think there's a project by Nick Johnson a few years ago where he appended the GraphQL onto Geth. So that's very interesting.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I had a great chat with Nick about this idea 2 days ago, and he didn't think it was a terrible idea, but I wasn't aware of that. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's I think it's called query.
He's done what he told me is he's done some work on pulling data out of the nodes and storing it in like CouchDB and wrapping kind of like MapReduces around that. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the same project or not.
So I learned today that I think Parity is writing block data to IPFS.
Yeah, I was surprised to learn that as well. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting thing to me is that the block data, which to me is the source of all the data, is already being written to a location on IPFS. So I'm thinking I could just ask that. As long as I had the hash so I knew where that was on IPFS, I'll just write code that can come right from IPFS. And then if I choose my 395 blocks or my 5,000 blocks that I'm interested in, I'll pin those 500,000 or 5,000 blocks. And you pin your 5,000, you pin your 5,000. Everybody pins blocks that they're interested in. The likelihood of getting a block from IPFS is higher.
So I have a question for you guys, which is, and again, this is totally on me for not being totally up to speed with the work that you guys have already done. What is the data source for the open block explorers today, and what should it be?
What's the data source
for me, it's the node.
I mean, for the open block explorers.
Yeah, so it's
the node.
It's a node.
So you'd be running your own. Yeah,
but it's not one. Thousands of Ethereum-based networks. It's not on the main.
Of course.
Just
that's
other things. Yeah. Well, I think private networks. So it's thousands of.
That's kind of the whole point of the POA network, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a point to have scalable solution. We spent almost 2 years to build the POA network as it is now, but you can take our deployment end-to-end testing of our governance, and you can deploy your POA-based network in like 5 minutes.
By the way, we are working on a testnet for EWASM, and we need a block explorer. We've actually already begun writing our own, and I'm like, no, we need to work with you guys on that.
Yeah, that's right. So there are thousands of Ethereum-based networks. The explosion most likely they will use RPC interface as a main source of data. Right? So it's prefer like for mainnet and some problems of big data. We can think about optimization, but people in our ecosystem without this knowledge and resources, they will use just the standard interfaces to get data. And yeah, that's what making this ecosystem stronger. Right? You can take this first, but you can run it, your environment is modified, but you can use some tools built like MetaMask or RPC or the local networks.
I think it should be decoupled, right? So you have the option of running the full stack or part of it.
That's right.
And that's definitely part of what Infura is, I think.
Yeah, so right now we're in the process of like open sourcing a bunch of our components. So we are building like different proxies
proxies and stuff like that.
Cool.
So I'm not sure if the WebSocket proxy has been released yet. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't really remember. But we're in the process of like open sourcing more of our stuff because we want to allow people to run their own infrastructure as well. Because I mean, yeah, we agree with the decentralization thing, right? We're not really trying to centralize the network. Really, it's Infura was kind of built to kind of bootstrap the network. That was originally our main purpose or our focus, and kind of still is because right now it's still like super hard to run your own nodes. Totally, right? That's
the whole point of this, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
and getting harder. And by the way, when sharding happens, it's going to get 100 times harder.
Please don't. But yeah, so we are in the process of open sourcing a bunch of our components, and which will allow people to, I guess, build their own infrastructure. We also released a few blog posts before about like our architecture design. So I think they're on Medium. Yeah, they're probably on Medium. So if people are interested, that's a good place to start too.
Awesome. So I just want to say real quick thing. I hear people say it's very hard to run nodes, and it is way more difficult than it should be, I think. But it's doable. I start up a node, and I actually run 3 nodes: one on my laptop, one on my desktop, and one on another computer. And it's not easy to get it started. You kind of have to be patient with it for the first 2 or 3 weeks. But I've been running a Parity node for 2 years, and it kind of just runs always. So
what's
once it's up,
what's its uptime? It goes down occasionally, right?
It's not that bad. It stops receiving blocks periodically, but it then recaptures them or something. So it runs pretty much unattended. It runs unattended.
I think that's an important point,
yeah,
because if you are using them a lot,
I'm using them for myself.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So if you're not hitting them as hard, right?
They're not getting hit.
Exactly. So that's kind of the issue that we're trying to, I guess, solve, is like to provide like Ethereum data in a scalable way, right? So I agree. It's not like ridiculously hard to run your own like archive node or whatever. You have to like, there's a lot of like maintenance overhead. Sometimes your node will go out of sync. You have to upsize your instance. I think an M4 XL is like $188 a month, not including bandwidth and storage. So yeah, it really depends on the use case, right? If I was like just a normal like user, I wouldn't really want to sync up a node. Or even if I was like a developer, it just introduces like some more overhead. And
the thing is, if you're a front-end app developer or like a wallet developer, right? I just think it's absolutely crazy that like someone focused on front-end and UI, UX, and the web stack should really be thinking about these exact things and the maintenance of the node and things like that.
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, again, you guys help a lot with that.
There are some security concerns. Like
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
If you have a D app and this D app is listening to events,
right?
And let's say now a bridging solution, we're listening to events on one chain, right? And a group of independent validators sign transaction on another chain. So let's say if someone will fake Infura for us, right, and will send us some fake events, our validators.
Don't let your DNS get hijacked, please.
Yeah, so that's our security concern, right? So that's why we have additional monitoring, additional from this app, and monitor balancers, like how many coins deposited and how many coins minted on the other side. So it's important, right? Because if let's say Infura hacked and someone sending us fake events, we will mint fake tokens on other side of the bridge. So that's why we introduce quotas, limits per transaction, quotas per day.
So to me, the sustainable.
Yeah, so it's I just want to mention one more aspect of maintaining your node is that not only maintenance and operational concern, but also it's a big security concern.
Totally.
We are working in a space of money and liquid assets. And we know how easily the DNS hacks and so forth. So that's why we will pin out certificates to Infura.
So that's a great point.
Yeah,
that's
the pinning to Infura. So because well, if someone not will hack Infura, we well, it's, you remember this story like Oracle
said that they built unbreakable Linux, and next day it was next day, right? So group of
copy protection on DVDs was unhackable.
Yeah,
the next day it got hacked.
It's a Murphy law. Like everything can be hacked will be hacked.
If everyone was running their own node 20 years from now, because we have this computer for everyone can run their own node, kind of, it's in the operating system. It comes with the machine.
No, it's on our phones.
It's on our
In the future.
And that's
in our watches, and our
brain
computer interfaces. I just want to say, so that's awesome. So you're right. It's not just the challenge of running out of security. And I mean, I think as someone thinking from a protocol perspective, the long-term sustainable solution for this is decentralization. Trustless decentralization with proof space.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody's running their own node.
I should mention.
I don't think everyone will run their own node.
So we do have a really cool project that we're working on called DAppNode, which is exactly this. Which we're trying to make it easy so that anyone can buy a box that's their own personal server, that they literally go and they have an easy user interface where they can click Bitcoin, Ethereum, Infura, decentralized, whatever, Giveth, Feathers, decentralized. Like they can run dApps, they can run a Zencash node or a Dash master node or any of these things, and it's all Dockerized, or I mean, the proof of concept is Dockerized. Yeah, MVP. We're on the MVP, right? It's awesome. It's Dockerized, and then the UI is just super simple, where it's clicking a checkbox, and you just buy this box. It should pay for itself in a couple months if you click the right checkboxes, and then
everybody has the data.
Yeah,
everyone has the data.
Yeah, that's the dream. This is the dream of DAppNode, and it's Edu is downstairs working on it. We're after this, I'm gonna have a nice conversation with Eric over here. So
I'll buy one.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people would buy one, and we're working on the software of it. We have one potential hardware partner, but at the same time, if you want to run like a Monero, Bitcoin, Ethereum node, and then a bunch of other little things, that's a really nice piece of hardware. Yeah, it's not cheap. Yeah, right. But if you want just the base layer, you just want to run Ethereum and maybe some helper dApps, it shouldn't be more than $300.
Also, when you print the version.
A printed version. We need the.
We only have to publish the block version. It's okay.
Yeah. Just in case the electromagnet solar repulse.
I mean, we have the Dewey Decimal System. We should use it. Well, I think we should end this, huh? Let the devs go back to debbing. Yeah. If you watch this, I'm so sorry. I don't know why you made it this far. Although it's so patient.
I tried very hard. I made it. This last part was awesome. I can hear everything, so I'm happy to make it. Guys, nice to meet you. We are going to stay in touch and have fun there.
Thanks, Aldo. And,
bye.
Guys.
Thanks, Aldo.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, bye, you too.